Hey, what's up guys? This is Gian of GadgetPilipinas.net. Welcome back to the channel. Last time we talked about the Realme 7 Pro. This time we're going to talk about something different. Not so different actually, but it's the Realme 7. Pero ngayon, I'm joined by one of my friends and colleague, Emman Tortosa. He's just right there. And he'll be giving me some of his thoughts about this new smartphone by Realme and how is it different actually from its predecessor and even from the Realme 7 Pro. I prepared a few questions to him, and for this segment of the video later on pala, I'll be asking these questions to him and we'll get his thoughts about it. Emman, kamusta ka?
Hi Gian, hello. Okay naman. Doing well.
Ayan, so we actually sent the Realme 7 to Emman for his unboxing and review, and he's here with us right now via Zoom call. Ganyan ngayon tayo, work from home tayo, and this is the same setup that we're doing here at Blip Media and Gadget Pilipinas, and I'm just so happy that Emman is actually part of the team to do this for us. Now Emman, can you tell us your thoughts or tell us about the Realme 7?
Okay, so basically the Realme 7 is this is the device that Realme is basically pegging for gaming. So if the Realme 7 Pro is more of for photography and creative work, this is as far as the specs go, this is more of for the performance side. In fact, it's the first phone to run the Helio G95 SoC. And basically when they talked about it during the launch, the global launch, it actually was it was being pegged as a performance phone rather than a photography focused phone. But if you actually look at its specs, it's actually almost that capable. It's almost the same as the 7 Pro in some aspects. So So if I start with the differences between the two, then the most notable one would probably be the display. So it's a 6.5-inch display with a 90 Hz refresh rate. If we remember correctly, if I believe the Realme 6 Pro had the same refresh rate, 90 Hz.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite surprising to see that Realme did not opt for a 90 Hz display on the Pro, but they gave it to the non-Pro. So the only reason I could think of for that is that they want the products to be distinct. It's as far as purpose is concerned. And also during the global launch, they also showed a survey wherein they asked consumers what do they prefer. Do they prefer a high refresh rate display, or do they prefer a prettier AMOLED display but with a lower refresh rate? And it turned out the result is that they took the latter. So I think that's why they gave the Pro the AMOLED display but without the 90 Hz refresh rate.
Right.
Yes. So this one, as I said earlier, it runs on the Helio G95 SoC. It's the very first phone to run on the Helio G95 SoC. So we're very very excited to try out how this will perform in the games and even during everyday tasks. So I won't spoil the performance now, but so far, I'd say it's a pretty fast phone. It's a pretty smooth performing device, also with the 90 Hz refresh rate. I think that the feature complements the SoC very well, and it really is a big difference when you hold the phone with the 90 Hz refresh rate compared to a 60 Hz refresh rate. Now, I believe they've also equipped this phone with a special cooling system. Liquid cooling, or if I remember correct, carbon fiber cooling, something like that. They talked about it during. It's not actually in the. If you actually look the website of Realme for this phone, it doesn't actually say that, but they actually mentioned that during the global launch.
Right.
So it's also interesting to see. It will be also interesting to see how this phone will perform in terms of thermals. So tingnan natin if it's gonna be heating up or if it's gonna be warming up during games. It's gonna be very interesting to see that. Now moving on to the cameras, it basically uses the same IMX682's second generation sensor, 64 megapixel sensor as the Pro, and it has an 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel portrait and 2 megapixel macro lens. So makes it's a versatile set of cameras that you usually get with most Realme devices. So as far as I know, Realme is a brand that really opts to give you a lot of options as far as optics goes. So they just don't give you, you know, just the main and the depth, but they give you also an ultra wide and a macro and a portrait. So that gives the phone, like I always say in my reviews,
Yeah.
the quality may not be, you know, at par with, you know, some other devices, with say a flagship device, but it gives you the flexibility to basically adapt to any shooting situation that you need to. So if you want to say immediately take a picture of a landscape, say you're somewhere in Tagaytay or in Baguio or somewhere, and you need more space, you need more frame. So you just enable the ultra wide, and then that's it. You just get the entire a better coverage, wider coverage. And then if you need to shoot a very close photo, you just put your phone up close, and then the AI will automatically trigger the macro mode, and then that's it. You can take up close shots. So it gives you that kind of flexibility and adaptability that, you know, it's so powerful as far as I'm concerned, because, you know, you don't have to adjust so much, you don't have to move back, you don't have to do the adjustments yourself. I mean, the phone adjusts for you. And with all of the AI capabilities of this phone and all of the video features of this phone, this, by the way, can record 4K 30 FPS. As far as I know, it's capped at 4K 30 FPS, but it's 4K video on a mid-range device, which is something that you don't see every day. You know, you usually get 4K on the upper mid-range things, but it's gonna be very interesting to see how it also does video recording because of the new. Of course, when you're using a new SoC, you're using a new ISP, so it's gonna be very interesting for that. And also, we have a 5,000 milliampere battery, and that's bigger actually than the Pro. 500 milliamp hours bigger than the Pro, and I think the only difference between the two, apart from that, is this one only gets 30 watts of fast charging.
Super dark.
Yeah, super dark. Yeah, but I think that, you know, if you're not really that concerned about, yeah, I think 65 and 30, you know, they're probably a very big. There's a big difference between that as far as charging time is concerned. But I don't think 30 watts is so bad, really. I mean, it's not that bad. It's in fact, you know, very fast for a mid-range device, because, you know, some lower mid-range devices, they only have like 18 watts of charge.
10 watts.
Yeah, 18, usually you get 18, that's the usual value that you get. So if you get 30, then that's a bit more, that's more significantly faster. Not as fast as the Pro, but you do get that trade-off. You know, if you really want that fast charging thing, then you go for the Pro. But I wouldn't say that this is slow by any means. But yeah, we'll have to see how long it will last. That's the beautiful thing about a new SoC. You know, it's not, because there's so little that we know about it. You know, it's very interesting to see how it will perform in terms of gaming, in terms of everyday tasks, in terms of battery life, how it will complement the OS, how it will complement other components. And yeah, so in that regard, I'd say this phone is, you know, it's a very exciting device to test. I really can't wait to find out how this phone fares in our tests. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's it for the Realme 7. Um, yeah, it's a really, so far I'm loving the experience, honestly. You you guys, for you guys watching, you should check out the first impressions article that I'll be posting as well. So if you want to see more of the sample shots and more of my thoughts, it will be there. So yeah, back to you, Gian.
Thank you, Emman. So I have a few thoughts about what you said. No, thank you about what you mentioned. Actually, the two things or two insights about that is that I like the fact that you mentioned that it's actually the phone that is adjusting for you. Hindi na ikaw yung nag-a-adjust, but it's actually the phone is adjusting for you through its AI components and features. And the second one is that this time Realme is giving you an option. This is actually more of targeting the ones who purchased the Realme 5. If you remember the 5, and also those people who purchased the Realme 6 Pro and even the Realme 6.
Yeah.
Even if you upgrade from the Realme 6 to the 7, it's going to be a huge bump pa rin, no? In terms of performance. And like you mentioned, there is even this carbon fiber cooling that they mentioned. It's a pretty new, and that's something that we would love to test out in our full review of the Realme 7. And of course, Emman will be giving us his review and first impressions of the Realme 7 regarding that. I have a few questions, Emman. I hope you don't mind. I prepared a few, one or two questions right here. Kasi for those of you who are currently watching at the time of the production of this video and even the publishing of this video, wala kaming idea kung magkano ang presyo ng Realme 7 and 7 Pro. So, and some of you may be asking yourselves, teka lang, yung Realme 6 Pro sa Realme 7 Pro, and there's this Realme 7, you have Realme 7 with 90Hz display and you have the Realme 7 Pro with Super AMOLED display. What are the chances of people picking up the Realme 7 over the Realme 7 Pro? Any thoughts on that, Emman?
So I think that for gamers, if there are gamers, you know, I think that they'll pick the Realme 7 over the Realme 7 Pro simply because of the 90Hz display and the bigger battery. Syempre, if you're a gamer, you want more hours out of your phone as much as possible, so you don't have to charge as much as often. And the 90Hz display kasi is an eye-catching feature, really. I mean, no matter how you look at it, it's really eye-catching. And it really makes a big difference in the experience when you use a 90Hz or a higher refresh rate display with a higher refresh rate compared to a usual 60Hz. Now, it boils down to a matter of preference, I guess. If you prefer the prettier screen over the smoother screen. And if you prefer the prettier screen, then you get the 7 Pro. If you want a more fluid, more eye-catching animations, then you get the 7.
So if you
That's
wanna get a 7, kumbaga you're getting the 7 because you're more of a gamer, and if you're into content creation, if you wish to really enjoy the beauty of what you just took, for example, go for the 7 Pro. And I think it's safe to assume, based on the past launches of Realme, that the Pro series is usually pricier than its non-Pro, di ba?
Yeah.
The variant. So,
yeah.
ito yung interesting dun eh. Despite the fact that you're getting a cheaper variant, hindi ka titipirin dito because you still get the 90Hz display.
Yeah.
And the only thing na lang na kailangan hintayin natin dito is how much siya. And if we're going to compare the 7 with the Realme 6, how is it going to be different in terms of pricing? Emman, the Realme 7 series, si Realme, they're very, very, very proud of the second generation na 64 megapixel na IMX 682 na camera. In your experience, how is it? And also, how about its slow motion feature? Kasi medyo mainit din si Realme sa feature na yan.
Yeah. Well, for the camera, I always say this about Realme devices, they do a pretty good job of optimizing their optics for their devices, whether it's a budget device or it's a mid-range device. For our last review, the C15, I was really, really impressed with the cameras for that device, and this one is no different. It's really, I'd say they stepped up their game. They really did their homework in terms of getting, you know, the best quality that they can squeeze out of the sensor. Now, of course, people will see my stills here, and with the first impressions that I'm gonna post. But I won't spoil everything, but I'd say that the camera performance is really, really, really impressive for this device. You know, and I think that considering that this is a mid-range device, yeah, so that's one, you know, one item checked off the list for them. Yeah, so of course I wouldn't I'm not sure how it compares with the Pro. Maybe there's some difference, little difference here and there, but for me, this one, you know, this one does the job well. You know, this one does the job well, considering that it's not even pegged for photography. But yeah, it's a pretty good camera, and it's a pretty flexible set of cameras that it has. So you get that quality and you get that flexibility in a mid-range device, and it's really, really a good thing to have. As far as the slow motion feature is concerned, it is, you know, it is what it is. It is a slow motion video feature that works. It works pretty well. I'd say I leave it there. It works pretty well. It does what it has to do. Well, it's not as fast, you know, as it's not as slow as some of the other devices out there, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a feature that you don't, you don't. It's not an everyday thing, you know. But if you want to use it, if there's a time that you need to use it, then it will do the job. You know, it will do the job. It will do what it was advertised to do. You know, what they said it would do, it will do. So I'll leave it there.
So it's para lang siyang payong, no? You'll never know until you need it.
Yeah. I mean, you don't usually take slow motion videos every day unless you're using this phone for, you know, content creation, which the Pro obviously is for. But you know, but if you really if you want, hindi naman sa hindi kaya nito, kaya rin naman niya to a certain extent. Yeah. So yun nga lang, I think that the Pro has more content creation focused features compared to the 7. But it's not like the 7 can't do content creation. It can, you know, to a certain extent. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess, Emman, that's it, no? I mean, thank you so much for your thoughts about the Realme 7. And it's going to be an exciting September 30 for us. Realme is going to have their live stream of the launch of the Realme 7 and 7 Pro. I hope you guys will be there. And maybe you guys have a guesstimate of how much these devices will be. We would love to know in the comments section down below. Emman, thank you so much for joining in today's video. Madalang lumabas si Emman dito sa YouTube channel natin. And for those of you who are currently watching right now on Facebook, kilala niyo si Emman, no? But then again, no, Emman, thank you so much for your time. And for those of you currently watching right now, maraming salamat sa panonood. And in case you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, this is the best time to do so. Meron din tayong bell icon dyan sa baba. You can go and click that out as well. Again, this has been Gian and of course Emman right there. Thank you so much for watching and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye!
Thank you. Bye.